now at your weakest point, this is training ground to be able to get you to the point where I want you to be, is what I heard him say to me. So I was like, oh wow, like even in my weakness, he is made strong. And so I did it anyway. I went to go meet people. I met tons of new friends. Hello, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good night. I don't know what time zone you're in, but here it is like the late afternoon once again, and it is a bright sunny day. The weather feels amazing, and yeah, I'm super excited, so let's jump in. Okay, so this past week I did not post anything because I was actually on a trip going to Washington, and during that week God really just like spoke to me and taught me so much, so I'm so excited to share. But at the beginning of that week I was coming down with something. I don't know if it was something I'd gotten from here or whenever I got into Washington, but anyways, I'd gotten like a really weird like cough, like cold situation going on. Like my voice was not happening. I had like actually like I recorded a video of me talking because I was planning to like shoot a video, and as I was talking I was like it was just not good. So I decided to wait and film now. So yeah, so I wanted to come on here and talk about a lesson that God has been teaching me, or that he taught me during that first week of me being there. So yeah, so today we will be talking about your voice, and how important and how valuable and how instrumental that is to your walk with God. Um, yeah, and just like, yeah, how powerful it is. So yes, so my first week being there, I get there and I don't have a voice, and I'm just like, how am I going to be able to talk to people? Like, what am I going to say? Like, how am I going to be able to communicate with people? And immediately I heard God speak to me and be like, and tell me that like, your voice is powerful. Like, the way you use it, when you use it is very, like, yeah, like powerful, like for my glory, and like just in how you live your daily life. Um, and so I was like, wow, like that is so true. And so I wanted to start off this message with giving 3 different topics that lead into 3 different verses. And so the first lesson point, whatever you want to call it, is your voice holds more power than you realize. So yeah, again, I got on the trip. I was trying to talk to my friends, trying to meet new people. I went on this trip really not knowing anyone, not knowing what to expect out of it, but I knew that I was going with God in mind and to learn more and to be a better disciple at the end of it. I mean, during this trip, I got to have many opportunities of like talking about my testimony, praying over other people. I got to evangelize on one day, which was a huge thing, which I would love to talk about more, but it definitely got me out of my comfort zone. And it's just so silly to think that in the very beginning I didn't really have a voice, but by the end of it I did. And so yeah, what God has taught me through that is just like to not take your voice, to not take advantage of your voice, like to see it as a gift, to see it as a tool that he's given us as disciples to use. And like whether you have a voice or not, I even think that like those who are deaf, like sign is like such a beautiful language that I think it can be so powerful, and it can be for God's use also. But yeah, just going back to the earliest week, yeah, me learning this, like I remember praying to God one morning because I just sounded so horrible and I really wanted to go to class, and I was like, God, like please, like give me my voice back. I'll not stop talking. Like I'll just go to every person. Like I will meet new people. And God told me, like, do it anyway. Like even if you don't have a voice, like right now at your weakest point, this is training ground to be able to get you to the point where I want you to be, is what I heard him say to me. So I was like, oh wow, like even in my weakness he is made strong. And so I did it anyway. I went to go meet people. I met tons of new friends. I like prayed for people. I got to speak and everything. And then by the end of it, I was able to talk more and like felt more energy because I had already done it. So I just think about like if I wouldn't have talked at the very beginning and then to the end, like I don't think I would have like had this many connections like I do now. And so yeah, it's been a really neat journey on using my voice. But yeah, that ties into point number 2, which is your voice identifies who you are. So I know that like as individuals and as people, like we each have like a particular voice that distinguishes us from everybody else. I remember this one time I was in the bathroom and I was like talking to a person, and this other girl comes up with a song. She was like, I knew it was you. And I was like, how did you know it was me? She was like, because of your voice, I know your voice. And I was like, what? Like, that's so cool that like you don't have to stare at a person, but you can hear them from the other room and know that, oh, that's so and so because of their voice. So your voice identifies who you are, which goes in, what ties in with us realizing how powerful it is and how careful that we need to be with it. So yes, this goes to the verse, Genesis 27:22, and it reads, Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So this story, if you don't know, is found in Genesis, and this story talks about like a birth of like 2 twins. So during this time, because Esau was the firstborn, he was supposed to get the blessing. And because Jacob knew this, he wanted to try to beat him to it and beat him to getting his birthright and just wanted everything first. But anyways, Jacob dresses up like his brother Esau. Esau was known to be like a very hairy man. Jacob was known to be like soft, like and fair skin. And so Esau was a hunter, and so Jacob dresses up as his brother Esau, goes into the bedroom where his father is when his father is about to die to receive the blessing from him. And whenever he's talking to his dad, like it says in this passage, his dad says, this voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he had put hair, like animal skin, on his hands so that it would feel like Esau's hairy skin. And so he goes in there, and he's like, yeah, like it's me, Father, like I'm ready to receive the blessing. But because the father knew his voice, he's like, I'm not sure because it's the voice of Jacob. But later in this passage, it talks about how he gives him the stew, which Esau, because he was a hunter, was very good at cooking, and because he drank the stew, Isaac immediately thought it was Esau and forgot about his voice, and he drinks it and ends up getting Jacob the birthright instead of Esau. And then later down the passage, they have this like huge fight, and that leads on for many years. But yeah, you should check it out. But I just wanted to highlight the beginning of it, which is talking about the voice. So yeah, his father knew his voice. This goes in with this other verse found in John chapter 10, verse 3 through 5, and 8 through 14, and verse 16. And it reads, the gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them. And his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is the hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. But I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. So this passage is Jesus and talking to the Pharisees. Actually, whenever the Pharisees asked him a question, he answers them with this story. And I think that it's really cool because he's talking about how like him being a shepherd and as if we're the sheep, and how like we come to him by the sound of his voice. Like we know who the Father, who the Son, who the Holy Spirit is because of the sound that it differentiates from everybody else. And it's just cool to know that like, I don't know, that like that sound is like very present in our life, and like how we know like whether or not we're doing like the right thing or the good thing is by God's voice. I just think that that's really, yeah, that's like really cool to me. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that verse just because it goes with the other verse whenever Jacob came in the room to talk to his father Isaac, and how Isaac was like, that's not your voice. And it's kind of like how many other people in our life can come up to us and like can tell us different things, and we know whether that's right or wrong based on their voice, like what voice is almost like speaking in your life. So the question that we need to be asking ourselves is like, what voices are influencing who we are, and differentiating that from, is that God talking, or is that like the enemy, or is that something else trying to influence who we are. But yeah, I think that also during this time, as I was like getting better, like I was just more in tune with God's voice, and like was very like yeah, like just in tune with God's voice, and just making sure that I'm like listening to his every step. And yeah, so yeah, the last verse I wanted to bring up, or the last point I wanted to make, is your voice requires you to be humble, to know when to speak and when to hold your tongue. So yeah, I think because this voice that God has given us is a gift, and it is seen as like a powerful tool that we can use, we have to be careful with it. We like all gifts that God has blessed us with, we have to know when is the best way to use it and when we should not use it, and just wait for to hear God's voice, to like be able to discern and to know how to best use it. But yeah, a passage that I found that I think fits perfectly with this is found in James, chapter 3, verse 1 through 12. And it's pretty short, so I'm going to read all of it. But it says, not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know we who teach will be judged more strictly. We all stumble in many ways. Anyone who is never at fault in what they say is perfect, able to keep their whole body in check. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. All kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed, and have been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings, who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives, or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. Oof, I love that passage. Yeah, so it's just, whenever it started talking about like how like our tongue is like the rudder of a boat, and how like it has this power to steer you in the right or wrong direction, like that, I love like figurative and like story language like that, so that really helps me. But yeah, I think this just goes to show us that like we do have to be careful with the way that we use our words and the way we speak. That goes with the saying, think before you speak, like knowing that like our language has the power to hurt or heal someone. And so yeah, this is like has been something that God has just been bringing to my mind this week, of like getting my voice back, of just like knowing when to use it and knowing how to use it. And I know at the end of this week of like coming back like on fire, just like ready to like fully like go into ministry and like what God has in store for my life. I know that like I want to be able to use my tongue as a way to bring him glory, and as a way to bring others to him. Sharing the gospel and like speaking to others with loving, kind words, and being very watchful and mindful of the way of my tone whenever I can be upset, because we are humans that have emotions. So realizing that like just because we know this, like we can't like show emotions, like we can still show emotions, but just being more aware of the way in which you do that. But yeah, I think this is like teaching me the way of how to use my voice. I want to be known as a kind person, and known as a person that speaks with wise and knowledgeable words. And so just like being mindful of like the way I talk, making sure that it's not spewing fire at anyone, but bringing like healing and bringing harmony. But yeah, I hope that you guys are able to benefit from this talk today, and I am open for any questions, or any feedback, honestly, that or anything that you learned from this video. I would love to see your comments down below. I love to read them, and I will definitely comment back. But yeah, I hope that you stay tuned for next week. I will definitely post because I will not be going on a trip. And yeah, I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. But before we leave, of course, I'd love to pray for you guys. God, I just thank you for the other person on the other side of the screen. I thank you for bringing them to this video. I thank you for allowing them to listen. And I pray that this video ministers to them and is able to help them on the journey of their lives, God. I thank you for teaching us about the powerful usage of our voice, God. May we go out and use it for your glory, and nothing else, God. I lift up the person on the other side of the screen, and I just pray that if they're struggling with how to use their voice, or if they're struggling with anything that is not of you, God, that you would just bring healing to them, that you would restore their tongue in your mighty name. And yeah, I pray that they have a wonderful week, that many blessings come their way, and yeah, that you open up many doors for them. In your mighty name, I pray. Amen. But yeah, subscribe and like and join the Surrendered Souls family. See you guys next week.